Peace and positivity, everyone. It's Takesha of Native Nubian Wellness, and you are tuning in into another session of Black Women Who Blaze. Today, I have two powerful women with me. I'm excited to dive into the conversation. But, Black Women Who Blaze is a platform that provides visibility of Black women in the cannabis space, as well as a place to commune, consume, collaborate, and celebrate each other. So thank you again for tuning in. Today, I have the incomparable Scheril Murray-Powell with me today. And Scheril Murray-Powell, Esquire, is an agricultural cannabis dietary supplement and trade attorney at Dumar Allsworth Laystrom. Oh, I'm not gonna do well with that last one, Voigt.
You can just say Dumar Allsworth et al.
Oh, yes, the LLP. And Cheryl is also the head of counsel at Felderman Legal Advisors and the founder of the Cannabis HR Council. And along with her today, which I love, we have Tracy Murray-Foreman, and no relation, right?
None. But we feel like sisters.
Yeah, that's right.
Is an entrepreneur as well, but also the executive assistant to Cheryl. And, Tracy's journey into the cannabis world is unique. And having transitioned from a career as an educator with a passion for learning, organization, and curriculum development to now serving as the executive virtual assistant to Cheryl is an amazing story. I can't wait to dive into that. But with a master's degree in curriculum, she has always been deeply committed to continuous learning, growth, and the power of education in shaping lives and hopefully in shaping the education in this industry. So thank you, ladies, for coming and participating and joining me in this conversation this month and being the feature for March in 2024, Women's History, because this is what you ladies are doing. I'm inspired and I appreciate you. So I'll give you a chance to kind of jump right on in and introduce yourself, share a little bit more of who you are, starting with Cheryl, because I mean, the bio is extensive.
Thank you so much. Like, first of all, I've been dying to get on Black Women Who Glaze, so thank you for having me finally. We're trying to coordinate schedules, and I was like, this is on the top of my list of podcasts that I want to be a part of. So thank you for the platform that you've given Black women for all this time and for your vision. And I can't wait to see what happens next. Like, I'm thinking Oprah, I'm thinking, having the whole couch and everything, maybe a green couch, but we're ready for it. And then you'll have me back at the time. So as mentioned, I'm Scheril Murray-Powell, Esquire. I'm a cannabis agricultural dietary supplement trade and psychedelics attorney. I've done a lot of things in this space. I've legalized in 10 states. What else? So I've been practicing cannabis law for 8 years. I love it. Cannabis is where I live, work, and play. Other than that, I write standards for cannabis. I'm part of ASTM International's D37 Committee on Cannabis. I sit on the executive committee because I chair their diversity, equity, inclusion subcommittee. I'm always making sure that I'm playing defense with regards to standards, making sure that they're inclusive standards, everyone can participate, there aren't too many barriers for entry. I am High Times on the list of High Times top 100 influencers in cannabis, which is a huge, huge honor because those of us who've been cannabis enthusiasts for years, we were in our rooms reading through High Times, lusting over these plants and these genetics. So it's such an honor to be on that list. I've been recognized as one of the top 28 African Americans in the history of the United States to shape drug and cannabis policy, and that recognition came from Honeysuckle magazine. So I'm super excited about this conversation. I decided I wanted to bring Tracy along because like she is my secret weapon, really, to be honest. And I figure it shouldn't be a secret anymore because more women who are trying to figure out how do I do it all. A lot of people ask me, how do you sleep? How do you do it all? And part of that formula is having someone like Tracy by my side, who I know cares about me, wants me to be healthy, make sure that I'm meeting expectations, so to preserve my reputation. Also, holding me accountable to my word. So it's really an honor to be like on this trial with Tracy, who gets me and really facilitates what I do in the industry. But beyond that, and I'll let her speak to her background and experience. But beyond that, like, she in her own right has a lot to contribute to the industry, with her experience in curriculum design. And I didn't even know that when I originally hired her. But, as we started developing the Cannabis HR Council and really wanting to do something novel in this industry, really wanting to meet a need that had been unmet, bringing solutions where there's a huge gap in knowledge for our new entrepreneurs and our HR professionals. So, one, we identified that there's no place for HR professionals to be educated and or hang out and fellowship and discuss problems. And we're like, we're going to solve that real quick. We had our first summit last year. We have our conference August 15th and 16th of this year. So we're really deep in the planning for that. You'll hear more about it. I'd love to come on Black Women Who Blaze again so we can really break down our agenda and how women focused our agenda is, because last year we had all women speakers, not necessarily by design, but we had all women speakers last year, and it was fire. It was powerful. And people who attended were very, very grateful. So, once we started working on that, and then I kind of discovered, like, we have an educator, like a legit educator, who is not only trained and through action, through having spent all these years in education and understanding how to develop curriculum so people retain the information, but she is what they call classically trained, where she went to school for it, and not only her undergraduate focus, but her master's degree. And I was like, thank God. That's when you do a hallelujah. That's when you give praise to Jah and say, Jah, thank you for bringing someone to my life who has the skills that I don't. Thank you for bringing someone into my life who can cover my weakness with their strength. And that's what really makes me excited about this conversation today, because they say a three a three oh my goodness, there's a scripture where it's about like a three-strand rope is not easily broken,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's really about and there's three of us on this call right now on this recording, and I feel like a lot of things that for me happen in threes, and the Holy Trinity is in threes, and it's an important number. So, by having the team that we have, there are three owners, and Tracy's our program director for curriculum design, and we're talking about what could equity look like in the future. um, I feel like we have a strength that you don't typically see without conflict in our industry, and we want to role model that and demonstrate, not just by what we roll out, but really being an example for our community, especially our Black community, especially our woman community, that you can uplift other people and support other people, and not lose anything. Like Tracy supports me, and she is impeccable at her work, and then I support her by giving her access without being threatened to the industry that I love, and I know needs her contributions because they're extremely valuable. So that's kind of what I wanted to highlight today, is like, one, relationship; two, no gatekeeping; three, uplifting other people; and four, the power of working in union with other people. So thank you for allowing us to have this conversation.
Yes, yes, I love it. I was super excited when you even suggested it, because that's the point and purpose of the platform, is for us to connect, collaborate, support each other, strengthen each other, and create something that's impactful. So I mean, this is, you guys, you ladies are modeling exactly what the platform was developed for and supports. So thank you again for that beautiful introduction and segue to Tracy.
I know, right? I mean, how do I follow up with that? That was beautiful, wonderful. So my journey has been different, unconventional for me because I'm not a cannabis consumer. However, I see the need and I see the opportunities for learning. With Cheryl, I think I shared the story with you about how we met and how it was. She uses the word manifested, how our relation was manifested, and I really believe that. Like I told you, I was just starting in the VA space, really, and really needed to find a niche. And as I was researching, I found that there was hardly anybody in the cannabis industry that had or that provided VA services. And I happened to be on LinkedIn. They had a post about it was Women Cannabis Chamber of Commerce, and they had a post about the 100 women in cannabis and women of color. And this was before I met Cheryl, and Cheryl's name was number 11 on my list. I wrote everyone down, and then I just happened to go to a mixer and meet other cannabis professionals, and a mutual friend was there and introduced us through LinkedIn, and we've been together, ever since. And it has been a whirlwind for me. She's exposed me to so much learning and so much that needs to be done. I mean, she talks about what I've done for her, but what she's done for me has just been um, awesome. I'll use that word, awesome. The opportunity, again, the learning, and um, for me, my personality is very introverted. I like to be behind the scenes, and she's stretching me. And I appreciate that. I told her, this year was my year, yes. And so she's definitely stretching me to be the best that I can be. And I love her for that. I mean, again, we support each other. We are there for each other. We celebrate each other. And so I'm just fortunate and blessed to be able to work with her. Yeah.
That is beautiful. Both you ladies definitely inspire because what you said, Cheryl, is, what we get a lot of times. How are you doing it all? Or do you even sleep? And the fact of the matter is the secret weapon is Tracy. And,
Yeah.
it's Black women being open to supporting each other, learning from each other, and respecting each other's wheelhouse, right? This is what you do well, and I'm going to trust you with that, and this is what you do well, and I'm going to trust you with that. And we need that. We need that type of
Yeah.
support, woven into every industry that we enter, right? But especially in the cannabis space where we're still dealing with inequities and social justice issues, and a lot of things can come up that can trigger some of the, historic harms and current that we still experience. So, with cannabis being therapeutic and medicinal, it's really a really great space for us to gather around and in and support each other in, whether you're in the industry or just in the community. And so, I love that Tracy is learning from you the community aspect of us being involved in cannabis and really getting more of an awareness of the social impact and the injustices because she sees what you're doing and it's given her a better perspective, a broader perspective, even though she's not a consumer, and at the same time, wow, this is beneficial to our health as a form of health equity. And, hey, I'm not a consumer, but she's open to advocating for it for those
Yep.
who need it, right? And that's what it's about. It's not just about we want everybody to consume cannabis and it's just this miracle thing that's going to cover it all. No, we even if you do not, we want you to be aware of it and be fully educated, and that's what she's able to bring and educate others that may need access to it. So I'm so happy that you ladies are able to
Hmm.
come on and share some time. And so we'll kind of dive right
Hmm.
on in and start with the beginning, right? And then we'll get
Yeah.
into there. So with Cheryl, I wanted to get right into I go right into the hard conversations, or the
Sure, yeah.
uncomfortable stuff. But can you share any challenges you faced as a Black woman in advocating for equitable cannabis policies? Because, like you said, you've
Yeah.
been doing all of these things in over 10 states. You're the go-to, when they're looking for a Black woman, right? So
Yes, yes.
the challenges.
Yeah, and it's so funny you say that. I have been the go-to for 8 years, and it's made me really reflect and think of there should be more. There has to be more. I can't hog all this. I've been on enough stages, right? Now I want to see other people on stages. But with regards to challenges as a Black woman, I think one challenge, and it kind of stems off, my relationship with Tracy, is like finding people you can trust. I've had some heartbreaks with regards to friendships in cannabis, where people I thought was in my corner or I could share confidential things with that violated that trust. So it makes you, and as Black women, I think we're used to that, and we have like no new friends, and those types of mindsets, and when you find someone like how Tracy and I were brought into each other's lives, it kind of restores your faith in people, and it equips you to do more and go harder. I think trust has been a big barrier for me, is like finding people who aren't just trying to say I want to work for you, but they really just want my contacts or they want my access. They don't really want to help me. So when it comes to like the deliverables, they can't they don't meet the mark. It's happened to me a few times over the years, men and women, usually people of color that I've tried to employ or employed, where their interest was more into like my access or my contacts, more so than saying, hey, you help all these people, I'm going to help you, right? And that's a little disturbing. It's heartbreaking, and it's been a bottleneck. It's like taken me sometimes when I'm going 2 steps forward, it has taken me 1 step back, because I have to like go through the mental exercise of being willing to trust again, because I can't do it all by myself. I can't do this work all by myself. So that has been like a mental health exercise. So that's been challenging. I think the other challenge is when it comes to like ideating. So again, I'm a big Kwanzaa person. So, when you talk about Kuumba, and creativity, we're a creative people. And we're limitless in ideas, but we're limited by resources. And that's been my walk, is like, I have notebooks of ideas and companies I want to start. I have LLCs for days. I got to renew every single last one I got in Florida. That's going to take me like $2,000 or something crazy, $1,500, somewhere around there. Because the idea is, I've been blessed. I stay in meditation, I stay in prayer, and God blesses me with these creative ideas for things that are problem solving, that could be all multi-million-dollar ideas, but I can't do it by myself. So, that's a big challenge, I think, for a lot of Black women, is when you're a creative, when you come up with these ideas, when you can problem solve, and you are equipped with all these skills, and you're equipped with the education to execute, but you just, again, either you can't find trusted people who get it, who are hardworking like you, because I'll be honest, I'm a maniac. I'm not easy.
Right.
I'm not the easiest to work for. I go hard. I go hard in the paint. I work all the time. And for some people, it turns them off, and they're like, I need my weekends, I need my nights, that kind of. And I have a kid too, so it's like working around. Like when Judah's sleeping, maybe I'm hitting you up. Not that you need to reply, but it can be an annoyance. So coming up with all these ideas, building a team that understands the long-term play, and that it's not just for me, but it's for community. It's for community first, and I want to benefit, because there's nothing wrong with being successful. There's nothing wrong with being wealthy and still being a good person and still benefiting your community. It's very biblical. You look at Abraham, you look at David, you look at Solomon. They had a tremendous amount of wealth, but they were also people of God's heart. and also did stuff for community. So I look at those biblical examples and try to develop my plan for my life, and find the right people who understand it and won't feel like my approach is quirky, but they understand that there is, like, we can, as Tracy said, we can manifest things. It's a lot of things are mind over matter. And where we have our, physical limitations, our resource limitations, we just need to, for me, get into a prayer posture, or get into a phasing posture where it's like, I can't do all of these things at once, but what I can do in this phase or in this season is XYZ. And the work that I did with the Justice Foundation as a COO was what I call my season of service, where I took a pay cut. I moved with no relocation. I took my kid, dragged him out of one school, dragged him into another school in a whole different state, in a faster environment. And I did that all on faith. And it was because I knew that I was called to do this work. And then I knew that I was the person to do this work. So it was a calling, but I knew that, based on what was required, I had a special skill set for the work. And I said, all right, I'll be obedient and I'll do this work. It was difficult. Donations were slow. Fundraising's hard. I still had to eat. New York's so expensive. All those things. But I knew it was for a season. I knew it was for a purpose. And I'm still, on the board of justice, but I'm not the COO. I'm also making money other ways, but I haven't turned my back on my justice family. I still feel as strongly about the legacy operators and legacy transitioning. So, all those things are challenges. One, I'm just going to do a summary because I like to. The trust issue is huge for me, and it continues to be huge for me. Tracy has made it a lot better because I know she has my back. I've never given anyone access to my emails ever in my entire career, and I've had people have tried to assist me, and I trust her implicitly. Shelly Ann, who's our chief technology officer, has been my friend since probably 12, 13 years old, and I trust her implicitly. So Ja has blessed me with a team, creativity, and getting, what I meant to say about the creativity part is, getting your ideas stolen. So that happens all the time because we can't move as fast as others. We start trying to work in coalition or gain support or access resources, and then your ideas are taken from you. But we have no shortage of ideas because we're creative people, and that's been a significant barrier for me. And you just kind of dust off, who they are, and then you keep it moving.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. And you hit those are, yes, challenges that we definitely face. Those are some of the challenges that I'm facing at this very moment, trust to build a team,
Yeah.
and those people that you truly trust and want to support the vision, and see,
Yeah.
right? A lot of folks out here are just, looking for access to success, like you said, and don't really
The
see.
fast track.
Right. As for the collective work, they really don't. They're not here for the collective work. But this is what we need. This is what we see other groups do first, right? And then you have some that kind of propel to a certain level, but at the end of the day, it's collective. And we need more of that. And so I love that Tracy is, that part of helping to heal that trauma that you've
100%.
right in this space, and so Tracy, thank you, thank you for coming on in, because we need other people who are not necessarily in the cannabis industry, but we need more of Tracy's. We need more Tracy
100%.
in
Yes.
and help us really, it's a developing industry, and help us make it one that is accessible to everyone. And so with that said, I wanted to ask you, what role do you believe education plays in fostering a more inclusive and informed cannabis industry? How do we create that space for education so it's already embedded that, it's inclusive and people are informed about why it should be?
Absolutely. I mean, I think education is important, is pivotal. And it's also, I think, a process. So you start with, dispelling those myths and misconceptions about cannabis and its use, and I think about Reefer Madness, that movie from a long time ago. And it's not that.
Right.
It's definitely not that. It can be very beneficial, to people's health, more beneficial than actual pharmaceutical drugs. So I think that's, the biggest part is dispelling that those misconceptions and dispelling myths around cannabis. And that can be done through education and also empowering those communities that um, are underrepresented, our Black and Brown people, educating them, making them aware of the social equity. And I think it goes beyond um, people that consume, but non-consumers, in understanding the social inequity in the cannabis industry. And, maybe with that education, more of us will come on board as seeing this as an opportunity um, to prosper, an opportunity to make an impact and try and level the playing field in the industry. Um, Also being aware of, I get compliance issues. I mean, the gamut is great of where, education can help um, in those areas.
Yeah.
So,
Yes, I
yeah,
agree. I agree, and even I think we're kind of like, tiptoeing towards or kind of avoiding how we can bring this to not only higher education, but, K through 12, them learning the power of the plant, it's as far as agricultural science and
yeah,
cannabis being a part of that education and the history of hemp. Right,
mhm,
for children, like being able to understand it, like they say, are you smarter than a fifth grader? It should be that they have access to it, but also learning the historical impact of how it's, not only been criminalized as a plant, but then criminalized groups of people, and
right,
they ran consecutively. And now, how do we, re-educate? Because it's like now you have to unlearn and then relearn, and
absolutely.
starts with youth. And it's like, well, how do we bring this to school boards or places where people are open and feel receptive to, this type of education and curriculum.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the biggest hurdle
Yeah.
is again focusing on dispelling misconceptions and the myths around cannabis. That to me, that's going to be the biggest hurdle, and getting in front of um, school boards, even curriculum writers, and you already know where we are in Florida, so that's going to be that's going to be major, major.
Right. And so we need, heavy advocacy, obviously.
Exactly.
But I think before we can go to the children, the adults kind of have to get themselves together, right?
Mm,
We have to get on one accord when it comes to, what's appropriate for them to learn, right? And then when it becomes something that you learn in higher education. And
mm,
so, my next, kind
Well,
of,
I was just going to jump in on that and just say, like, the good news is there are some cannabis advocates who've written children's books too, so that's going to help. Those are some tools and resources, like Miss Kindness. I know she has a book about and something about her garden, and it's a children's book. So I think that's going to help with that conversation. And those of us who are advocates, showing up with our children. My son Judah, he's 12 now. He's been at cannabis conferences his entire life. He's been right by my side, giving out my business cards, running around. There are people who've seen him grow up. Now he's 6'1". They're like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you're so big." But he has a healthy relationship with the plant because he understands that it's for adult use, right? He understands it's for adult use, just the same way as when we talk about sex and sexuality. He understands about consent, and he's 12 years old. You have to have those conversations with your children.
yes, yes, yes. And I think that that kind of segues into uh the importance of, you know, the health equity aspect of the plan, right? And I think that that would be the beginning, because we kind of shy away in Western medicine from alternatives. In Eastern medicine, we don't see it as an alternative to what they're providing. And so more conversations about that is important in our community. But how do you view the role of cannabis in promoting health and wellness within the Black community?
Yeah, I'll just jump in. I think it's critical. We have some great activists at the forefront of this. Rachel and Jessica Knox, the Knox sisters, and their mom. They've always been at the forefront of health equity related issues in Oregon and nationwide as they're speaking. They have an organization. It's called a CHEM. That's an acronym. I don't ask me what it stands for. AHEM with Tashida Dawson, who's the founding director of Cannabis NYC. So those types of initiatives are very important for us to support. Having activists be a part of the medical professions that's really important. I was just talking to my aunt, about end of life care. It's actually my godmother, and her mom is getting to the point where they're talking about, how do we make sure she's healthy and comfortable and things like that. And we, spoke about cannabis, had an honest conversation about tinctures, and they're based in, Florida, and the laws are pretty restrictive in Florida still, even though it's a medical state. So, those types of conversations at Thanksgiving dinner, Christmas, we really ignore the sphere of influence that we have. We should be loud and proud everywhere from our houses of worship. And of course, I'm being Rastafari, but I'm also Christian. Being Rastafari is easier in my house of worship environment, but even in churches, there's churches coming forward. I am a part of the faith-based coalition that meets here in New York. The OCM actually organized it to hear from faith-based leaders, and help get their insight on how we do this community reinvestment thing. So, houses of worship, hospital systems, our nursing home systems, our senior communities, our and really having those conversations. Cannabis during pregnancy is controversial, but I do know people who've looked specifically for a cannabis friendly doula for their birthing experience and things like that. So yeah, there's a lot of ways that we can impact that health equity, but our healthcare is inequitable. Healthcare in the United States is inequitable. Getting access, if you don't have health insurance, you're just paying ridiculous money, or your credit's bad as a result of it. It leads to other economical issues. It's so unfair that you can't get the health access that you need without thinking about ruining your credit. That's where we are, and it's a huge burden on our people. Cannabis is nutrition, cannabis is shelter. People are living still in asbestos filled homes. We had Chinese drywall issues in Florida. Our environment's very important. So building with, sustainable, textiles and fabrics and construction materials is very important to our health and very important to health equity. We shouldn't just have hemp homes in white community. We need to be able to have those across the board in our Native communities, in our Black and Brown communities. And it's particularly important for people who are specially abled. They have disabilities. We need to make sure that they have access. Sometimes they're on a fixed income. So it shouldn't, basically in summary, your economical situation shouldn't determine your ability to have a long life, or a life that is well lived.
Yes, yes, this is definitely impacting our quality of lives in marginalized and underserved communities, and we don't want to see this industry become so huge without serving those who have been underserved, right? The access that we deserve is no question. And so finding ways, like you said, to get involved in this space, whether it's, from the health and wellness aspect, with whether you're becoming an entrepreneur in this space, whether you become an employee, advocacy, we definitely need to, raise our voices when you're getting involved in the space. We have to understand that it's still federally prohibited. So you're operating outside federal law. And so we need more people to speak up about the need for it to be legalized and for everyone to have access for it in order to have a better quality of life. And then specifically to Black women, because, me moving into the, premenopausal, time of my life, it's been definitely an ally. It's been something that I can rely on to help my body transition into this time where I'm going through an adult type puberty. And a lot of times women who don't consume yourself like Tracy don't even know that this is an option, right? Don't even understand that it's not about just consuming inhalation, in that way. But, there's so many different ways to consume. And then we don't speak about the need for us to also get involved in hemp, right? And
Yeah.
that, I think for us as a people, that kind of has taken a back seat to the more euphoric and intoxicating plan, the one that's still federally prohibited, but hemp isn't, in a way that
Yeah.
you can get involved in textiles and food and fuel and creating hempcrete and doing different things. So it's just, how do we get that message out? And I think that education is the biggest way. And so with the, Cannabis HR Council, is that something that you're developing, where of course specific to HR and those and that field, but is this where, we'll get like the broader education specifically for us?
Yeah, we want to be one of the hubs for sure. So, when you think about work, and it's just like children in school, you spend most of your waking hours at work, right? If you are non-virtual, non-remote, then you're spending most of your waking days at work. So you need to have an environment that fosters your health and wellness, or you should demand at a certain point. We're not there yet with our labor laws, but we should be able to demand that we should be able to use cannabis, just like they would, allow you to use an oxy or any other pain medication, your Tylenol with codeine and those types of things, especially when you consider hemp, like you mentioned. There are a number of illnesses that affect African American people in a way they don't affect, our white community, and like, for example, sickle cell. So, this is just one example of the type of education that needs to happen. As someone we call them a sickler, but someone who has sickle cell, they have a special, a certain trait that it causes the cells to be sickle shaped, and a lot of pain results from it, and they go into crisis. Hurricanes, barometric pressure can affect them, and things like that. So to deal with that pain, a lot of sickle cell patients will use cannabis. Well, when they go to the hospital because they're in crisis, when they get to crisis, and again, it could be a hurricane happening in Florida with the change in barometric pressure, which causes them to be in crisis and cause them to have to go into the hospital for sometimes weeks, right? And when they get there and then their blood is drawn, they're identified that they have cannabis in their system. And up until the legalization movement, they've been identified as addicts. And as a result of that, not only are they not supposed to use cannabis, they're not giving their other pain medications, right? That's just an example of health inequity for something that affects us. Lupus is another illness. Fibromyalgia is another illness that we suffer with, in our community. You mentioned menopause. So, that's the type of education that needs to happen. I think sometimes we're not really good at sharing the rationale, and that's something discuss in the Cannabis HR Council team is really, having interactive activities in our education. And that's why Tracy's such an expert at it. It's just like, yes, in cannabis, our baseline is having slides to talk about a topic. That's our go-to. We see it everywhere. Or some people like me, because I'm so protective of my IP, I just talk, right? But with that said, yeah, we need to have these experienced curriculum designers that know, okay, this is how we can approach this activity. This is a check your knowledge activity. This is just a group discussion activity. This is you're going to present to the class activity, and this is where it makes most sense.
Yeah.
I like to say the cannabis industry, we deserve nice things. And sometimes we're moving so fast we forget that we deserve nice things. We don't have to just have a sesh where there's nothing beautiful in the room and we're just seshing. We deserve to have a nice, carefully well thought out, curated experience when we get together and sesh.
Yes.
Same way as with education, slides are great, but we deserve to have learning management systems that manage curriculum, that have the ability to check your results or have these interactive experiences. And that's what Tracy does so well, and that's why we were great to have her on that team. So in long answer to your question, I'll let Tracy continue, is yes, the Cannabis HR Council, we're coming in a different way when it comes to HR. And the reason why we're targeting HR professionals, I have an HR management certificate. So that's my area of focus, as well as being a lawyer. But beyond that, HR people are like, they bear the brunt. They have to protect their employers, keep them from liability, keep them from getting sued, build a workforce, hire the right people. And then on the other side, they have to be that ear for the actual employees as well. So, and there's no funding for them to go to conferences. No one thinks that they need to be fed. We are going to feed them. So Tracy, I'll let you take it from here.
I love
No,
that.
I mean, you captured it perfectly. The only thing I would just add is, making sure that when you're developing the education and curriculum, just like being in the classroom where you want to make it so it suits all learning styles. I mean, so some people can't sit and just, regurgitate and, read, and they need something a little bit more interactive and some movement and clicking here, some gaming. So yeah, it needs to be diversified.
I love
Definitely.
I love that. Exactly. Diversified. And, we're seeing that. And I think we've seen that more when the pandemic happened, that the learning styles for everyone is very different. And we heard more of the neurodivergent and, unable, people who have cognitive issues. Like you said, it was a very ableist way to roll it out. Um, you know, for everyone, and we know that we all do not learn the same. Like you said, some people are more visual, some people need to be more practical, some people can dive into theory, and some people like to be a part of, like you said, group activities. And so taking the step back when you're creating, because you're seeing a lot of education kind of roll out but be ineffective, right? And a lot of certifications come out and people don't really feel like they learned anything. They just, okay, I got this cert, but I don't even remember, half the things, because it was just slide after slide and someone with a talking head, right? So I agree, and I'm excited to see how it all unfolds. But I'll jump into your entrepreneurship journey, since both you ladies, working together are, you're entrepreneurs in your own right. Um, and what that journey feels like and looks like in the cannabis space, as far as, being a woman and, finding, ways to kind of, because this is pretty much one of my issues, finding ways to, seek, contracts and things like that in the space, and not be overlooked, you know, with the bro culture and all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, bro culture, man, it's a lot. For me, I always think what is for me is for me. There's a gospel song, what God has for me is for me. And it's always, I heard it for the first time. I was in junior high school, Turtle Hook Junior High School. my best friend Michelle Shecky. She's still my friend now. She has a beautiful voice, so she was in the choir, whatever. She was practicing, and we were just hanging out at her house, and she's practicing this song, "What God Has for Me Is for Me," and that stuck with me all these years. Um, I firmly believe that what's for me is for me. I think to your point about this industry and neurodivergence and stuff like I think we need to acknowledge that we are an easily triggered community too, and our responses are not always um, equal to the incident. We go left sometimes. And that's really important to recognize as you're developing curriculum for the cannabis industry, is some things that we'll be educating about can be a trigger for people. So we need to also insert soothers around that. And I think as women, not to, men and women are equal 100%. We do have slightly different characteristics sometimes, not all of the time. There are, again, other sexual identities as well. I don't even want to negate that fact as well. But I think we are perfectly positioned with our team and the diversity in our team um, to meet that need, and the fact that people are different, they do learn differently, and sometimes when we get passed over for things and we look at the leadership of the organization and the bro relationships, I'm like, you just lost, because you really could have had the benefit of, like, this carefully curated experience, and then sometimes people just wing it, or they just don't put their heart into it. It's really about getting the contract, collecting the money, and then the delivery is substandard. And I think we deserve to have really finished product, an evolving product, because the cannabis HR council that you get today is not going to be the cannabis HR council that you get next year. And I can even relate that to my legal career. The lawyer that I was in 2016 is a very different lawyer than I am in 2024 with regards to cannabis, my specialized skill set, what I've seen, my ability to identify predatory practices, all of that. I have evolved. So I'm looking forward to the evolution of the Cannabis HR Council, because we lean into that learning and evolution. I think those who, choose other individuals that may not be as skilled and have the background that we have, that's always a choice, but there are always consequences for your choices, positive and sometimes negative. So they're going to have to own that while, we continue to soar. And the people who do really understand what they deserve and understand the amount of education and training and how equipped we are to transform the workforce in cannabis. When people who recognize that will really gravitate towards us. And those are the people that we want. We want the people who understand that we are a work in progress, but we customize for every single client. We care about the results. We want to measure the results for every single client. And we want to, our whole purpose is to get ahead of the lawsuits. That's part of my purpose in being a cannabis lawyer. Is like, I'm going to get, like, at the Justice Foundation, my work was get as many people licenses before the lawsuits hit in New York, and I did that. And it's the same with Cannabis HR Council. I see what's coming with the OSHA, the discrimination lawsuits, the FCRA lawsuits that are coming, Fair Credit Reporting Act, all that. I see that avalanche, and I'm like, we're going to get as many people through our curriculum, especially our social equity people who may not have encountered this HR experience outside of being an employee. And we're going to get ahead of them, and we're going to equip them so that they don't have that risk of the litigation, which is so expensive, such a distraction from what they're trying to do. Like, they don't have other distractions like gaining access to cannabis, to capital. So we know exactly why we're here. We know exactly who we're trying to find. We know exactly how committed we are to this industry, and everybody's going to win. And that's the bottom line talk.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. And I agree. And that's what I said I was saying that about investors at one point is you shouldn't be afraid. Don't be afraid to invest in a Black woman owned and ran, business because we're going to cover everyone. We're not when and like you said, very
100%.
right? It's like, you're afraid because you think, oh, it's just going to be, but that's not us. That's not in our nature. What we do is for everyone. And it reaches across um,
Hmm.
all people. So it's like you have to remove the fear-based thinking
Mhm.
when it comes to
Yeah.
investing and supporting and aligning with, right? But to your point, yes, in the curriculum developing, we do in this space, we do have to be mindful of things that kind of trigger. And I just had that experience myself, doing a presentation where it was a combination of a slide and a conversation and something they could take away, but speaking to effective allyship and diversity, equity, and inclusion for justice impacted communities. And it's a fully, it's an audience of white women, so
Hmm.
course they admitted, yes, I was uncomfortable, in the conversation, and I had to kind of sit with it and really think about why I was feeling uncomfortable with what you were presenting, and I like you said, I knew that in the crafting of the session. So that's what we need more of, and we need a professional like Tracy to come in and
Yeah.
right and sharpen us and kind of help us and lead the way. So I'm really interested in your entrepreneurial journey going forward with what you're where you feel like you want to tap into more in this space,
Mhm.
Tracy.
Oh, that's for me? Okay. Sorry. Um, really, I just using my expertise. I love education. I love being able to design curriculum and designing um, learning experiences for people. Well, now it would be for people, then it was for children. But also being able to see the effect or the result, and it also helps in reflection and feedback. So if this lesson or if this module, didn't go too well, okay, well, we got to go back and revise and revisit. But I think that having people in the cannabis industry that have, a background in education, I think it will be very advantageous, because you are, I don't want to say legitimizing, but maybe professionalizing the industry where um, it's not a situation where, you know, um, for lack of a better word, maybe correspondence, course learning. You know how you could go and become a wedding official at some,
Right.
obscure university, but kind of again professionalizing the industry.
Yes, yes. I think that's important, especially with this being, developing. And I am seeing that. I am seeing that where people are, like you said, getting involved and, Joe Schmo is ready to now speak publicly and, give his take on certain things. And there's there's a certain level of refinement that should be there and dedication to, research and really learning outcomes. What is the intention here?
Right.
With what you're sharing with us. And so also kind of understanding the adult learner, because you're dealing with people who are a lot of them are finished with school. And some people don't want to go back to school, but don't understand that this is just like every other profession and industry.
Right.
You do have to learn and skill and be trained, and there should be some dedication to that part. But the adult learner is a little bit different. You have people, seniors, that are now needing to know more and learn more. So how is that different from teaching children, like what are maybe two things that we can kind of take away with how we're, creating education for the adult learner?
Well, for the adult learner, I think it's a matter of completion and feeling like what they're learning is valuable. What they're learning, they can put into to action. I just think about myself when I'm doing professional development. You go through the module and the learning. At the end, you have a knowledge check, and then you get a certificate that says you completed. So just having valuable content and the learner understanding that it's continuous learning, like it doesn't stop, um, because trends and research changes. So you have to be, open to continue learning about those trends, continuing learning how you can implement what you've learned into your profession.
Yes, I agree. Like you said, and this is a very fast-paced space right now where trends are happening quickly and research is, shifting and changing and more things are being added and included. And so I agree, it's a continuous learning process. And so, I want to wrap it up with Cheryl to bring it home on the social justice, because like you said, the Justice Foundation, and you were doing great work there with, helping to, get the legacy market involved in the legal aspect of cannabis. And so we know that the war on drugs disproportionately affected Black and Brown community. But what are some of the long-term consequences of that maybe people haven't really tied into the war on drugs and how that's impacted and why equity, why there's a need for equity, and it doesn't look like just a discount on licensing fees. Oh, you were
Yeah.
muted.
I was trying to be respectful and to Tracy, but yeah, before we get into that, really quickly want to talk about just the entrepreneurship part, one last thing about it. And because of our trauma, especially as Black women, we are hesitant to work with like white males and things like that. I want us to make sure that, as we're talking about strengthening our community, working together within our community, that we don't let past trauma kill our opportunity for new experiences as well. I'll just share. You mentioned Dumar Allsworth. I've been with that firm since 2013 when I was in law school, and I've left. I've gallivanted all over, and then all I had to do is send an email. Hey, I'm trying to do more in the practice. Da, 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 da. Oh, I'm thinking about opening a lobbying firm. Should I do that through the firm or not? Oh, they're like, and they respond immediately. Hey, let's set up a call to discuss it. When I first was like, I want to practice cannabis law, they're like, I don't even think that's legal, but um, you know, get us information. And they paid for my first cannabis event. So, I can't let this be, close out without it being a balanced conversation about the fact that there are allies out there. There are people that you can learn from. My mentors have been white males, 100%. Mostly at the firm Dumar Allsworth, but none of them do cannabis. Michael Minardi, white male, he was one of my mentors in the early days in the cannabis industry. Complex corporate structuring and things like that. Found white male attorneys who can help with that. So it's really important that we do not become so hard or so traumatized that we don't recognize the opportunity to work with other people. And just like Black people aren't a monolith, white people aren't a monolith either. It's really, I would say, focus on discernment to identify who good people are, who are people who will invest in you and make it a reciprocal, relationship in some way, shape, or form. My firm knows when I do work for them, I'm going to bring money. I'm not going to come just stealing from their knowledge and experiences. They're going to get paid as a result. I'm a great rainmaker, period. So I just wanted to have that conversation, especially for Black women, because we have been so harmed in corporate America with the microaggressions, with the demotions when we should be promoted. Like as soon as you apply for a position, then everybody tries to poke holes in everything that you've done when it was you were great last week. Like we experience it all, and it's horrific and it's so traumatizing. But then on the other side, really look for those people who understand and they're actually trying to do good work out there. They come from all backgrounds, and that's what I found. Where people who I think wouldn't harm me because we're sister girls, blah blah blah. They've done incredible harm to me, and then people who I'm just like, oh, they're not going to give me the job or they're not going to consider me. They've been like, no, you're exactly what we're missing, and I'm like, wow. If I didn't even try, I wouldn't have had this opportunity. So I just wanted to say that. Moving on to social justice is critical. People should not be in prison while we're making money in this industry. We all have a responsibility. Communities were destroyed and harmed, families were separated, children were abused, molested as a result of the war on drugs. We should not be able to sleep if we do not do something to help bring families together, restore the harm that was done, and be sacrificial in the way we live our lives and sacrificial in our giving in order to repair what has happened to our community. So social justice is critically important. What I do as an attorney, I get asked to do expungement things all the time as an attorney, and I decline. I say, give that money to M4MM. They're great at it. Give that money to Indica. They're great at it. I don't want to be the expungement expert. I will go to their events and be an attorney at their events, but I'm not going to take money from these nonprofits that are, in addition to legalizing, they're doing expungement and they're educating people and they're doing all this stuff. And their one way of making money is donations and one way or sponsorship. And one of the main things that they get sponsored is expungement. I think that's really important with regards to social justice, is not trying to be Pac-Man and take all the money that's out there just because you can. No, there's certain things that I could do that I don't do because I know a good organization that does it. There's one in New York, High Exposure Agency. They've been doing job fairs, career fairs with the social equity guys, with the card licensees. People ask me all the time, can Justice do a career fair? Blah, blah. We could, but you got High Exposure Agency right here. They're great at it. Justice does other stuff. You can still donate to Justice, but if you want a career fair, I'm not going to compete with High Exposure Agency. I'm not going to do it. I don't have to. The money wouldn't be worth it for me to do that and take that from this other organization of women of color that do a fantastic job, and that's their niche. So that's how social justice looks very different to different people. You can execute on social justice so many different ways. One of the things I'm advocating for now is essential cannabis workers getting health care. What does that do? Getting health care, but child care, sorry, getting child care. What does that do? It frees up, it allows more women to get into the space.
That's right.
It allows more women, and it allows for them to move up and go to law school and become accountants, from being a bud tender. They're going to know the plant really well, and then they're going to get the professional education so that they can be leaders in industry.
That's right.
That's how we break the plantation-based economy that we have in all these other industries. We got to educate people. We got to make people know that their kids are safe when they're not with them. So social justice for me is a multi-flavored thing, and I enjoy all of the efforts, and I love being creative about how can we make things more equitable.
Yeah. Yes, I love it. I love that, like you said, aligning and lifting up other organizations that are doing the work and not being competitive, but collaborative, and
Yes.
bringing your resources. And like you said, what you pointed out, effective allyship looks like, you know, what your organization has done, allowing you to step out and come back and supporting your initiatives or try it here. And like you said, you know, hey, you know, you're exactly what we're looking for when you had no idea, you know, you just
Mm-hmm.
rolled the dice and took a risk. That is what we're looking for when it comes to allyship. And then, you know, listening to our voices when we say, hey, you know, I could do it, but these organizations are already doing it and you can support them. That's more of what we need. I see that, you know, you're definitely modeling exactly what we need by bringing on
Thank
Tracy
you.
and the other Black women in your
Mm-hmm.
organizations, in your initiatives. And like you said, I mean, there's going to be so much more that we're going to be looking forward to as we all keep creating and developing more ways to essentially liberate us. That's what it's really
Yes.
about. You know, we're here for the liberation, and cannabis is just a tool for that. So I appreciate you ladies. If you have any last
We
words,
appreciate you.
Black women who want to get involved in the space, who, you know, aren't ready to really speak out about their consumption, but, you know, they do have a great amount of skills in their wheelhouse that can be transferable to the space. Please share any last words with them before we wrap up.
I would just
Yeah.
say I think that the VA space and also the education space is a great place for um, now for educators that are wanting to make a transition. You don't have to, you know, consume to make an impact or to use your gifts and your expertise in this industry.
Yeah, I agree. I think for Black women, I say show up as yourself because you are amazing, dynamic, magnificent. Show up as yourself. I show up every day as myself. I wore African attire for 4 years to draw attention to, you know, people of color being wrongly incarcerated. And then I started wearing suits and dresses because I felt like it. And then, like, I just moved and got reunited with my stuff, and I started wearing more African attire again. Like, show up as yourself. I'm Rastafari all day, every day. I'm who I am, and it's opened doors for me. It brings a spirit of authenticity, and it also challenges the boundaries about who is acceptable in this industry. You know, I do have a certain amount of privilege as a lawyer. So as a lawyer, I don't have to work for anybody. I work for myself, right? You know, so I don't have to impress anybody. But with that said, me being myself opens the door for other people who want to survive authentically, and they may not have the covering of being an attorney. And that's what it's all about. We kick down doors and we hold them open. That's the only way forward. We kick down doors and we hold them open for other people to come behind us.
Yes, 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 yes. Ashe, ashe, ashe. Everything that you
Ashe,
said. Thank you. I agree.
Sila.
Full authenticity. Show up as yourself. Don't be afraid to transition and don't be afraid of the cannabis industry. We're not all stoners, as Tracy said. Okay.
Yeah,
You know, but we definitely welcome all of our sisters to come in, support, you know, gather around each other. But also, we're open to all the support from everyone else. We appreciate it. And so, thank you, ladies, for sharing the platform with me, sharing your stories and your journeys and your expertise. And in wrap up, I'd like to ask if you have any events coming up in 2024 in the near future and how people can reach out and contact you to, you know, support your initiatives, to get involved, to hire you, all those things.
yeah, thank you. I appreciate that opportunity. I'm very accessible. So, you know, the Justice Foundation's Instagram is at justus.foundation. Cannabis HR Council is just that, at Cannabis HR Council on Instagram. My personal Instagram is at Virtue and Victory. So Virtue, the letter N, Victory. With regards to events coming up, month of March is popping as usual, and the year beyond. I will be at South by Southwest March 6th, March 12th, speaking there. Pretty honored to be a part of this CLE panel of lawyers. So I'll be there March 12th. I will also, we're having a fundraiser for the Justice Foundation at Cafe Mellows, one of our board members. Dwight, he's the owner, and he's putting on a celebration of the anniversary of the MRTA being signed into law. So that's March 31st. It's a Sunday, and we're going to honor Shice Bubs, who's a legacy activist, but he's a leader in industry. So Shice Bubs is going to be one of our honorees. We're going to give out a few legacy leaders awards and things like that. So I definitely want to see people out for that event. I would be remiss if I didn't mention our Cannabis HR Council. We're actually having our annual conference August 15th and 16th. We actually have a whole week of activities called Cannabis Industry Growth Week. For that week, but the 15th and 16th will be our conference. And I want to give a shout out to MJ Unpacked because they are allowing me to bring some of my Justice Fellows with me to MJ Unpacked in Atlantic City. That is April 8th through the 11th. So you will definitely see me walking around in AC. I'm not speaking, I'm just really facilitating relationships for my Justice Fellows at that event.
Awesome, 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 awesome events. I'm excited. And all of those will be in the description for everyone to click the links and tap in. And
Thank you.
yes, see if you want to share your website and how people can reach out.
Oh, sure. So my website is www.wellsgunter.com, WELLS Gunter, GUNTER.com, and same for Instagram at Wells Gunter.
Thank you, ladies.
Sure.
And, yeah, so March is definitely Women's History Month, and you ladies are making history. You know, if anyone hasn't told you, I want to give you your flowers now.
Thank you. Same for
Thank
you.
Thank you.
I enjoy watching you do your thing as well, mentoring people in Connecticut and all sorts of things. Thank you for your service to our industry and to women.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And if you are a Black woman who consumes cannabis or in the cannabis industry, an entrepreneur, employee, and advocate, and you would like to come on the platform and share your story, please reach out to me at Black Women Who Blaze. You can DM me on IG. All right. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you
Thank
for
you.
having us, and thank you for creating
Appreciate
this
it.
platform for us, Black women, to have these conversations. It's so essential.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Thank you. All right. Peace.